Coach Corey Wayne. This is my video coaching newsletter, and the topic of this newsletter is going to be realizing your full potential. Well, I've got two emails from two different guys who've been following me for a while. One guy's been following me for a couple of years, and the other one, I think he said he's been following me for a year or so. And obviously they came to me, like probably about 80-90% of the people who first come to me is because they had a relationship ended, and they were either trying to figure out what the fuck just happened, or they were trying to get their ex back. And what these guys have done is they did a really beautiful job of taking on board all the things that I teach and actually applying it. Really reading my book cover to cover numerous times, taking action, going out there and applying it, and really focusing on just making their lives awesome so they could create the life and lifestyle that they've ultimately wanted. And so before I get into the first email, I got a quote that I wrote on this topic that I want to share with you, because for those of you that are watching this that are suffering right now or feel like, fuck, my life just can't get any better, or I just got dumped, or it seems like I'm never going to get there, you got two guys that have been diligently applying what I've been teaching for a year or more, and they're getting great results in their lives because of the perspective change that they've encountered in their own lives. In other words, they're changing the way that they looked at things in the world, and then they're taking action based upon the principles that I teach, and they're achieving fantastic results. So the quote says, "When you know what you want in life and you resolve to do what it takes to become the person you need to become in order to accomplish it, your life takes on meaning and purpose. This makes you feel truly alive, as you now have something great you not only want to aspire to, but are actually taking action to one day make it a reality. When you love what you do and you love your life, work won't seem like work. Your passion will be the fuel that propels you to do what is necessary so you can reach your full potential. To live any other way is to simply take for granted the precious gift of life and this magnificent human body machine the Creator has given you to enjoy your divine nature in physical form." So let's go ahead and jump right in. He says, "Hey Coach, I just want to let you know a success story that I recently had after following your material for almost 2 years. In 2011, I was still a wimpy guy who texted, called, and chased women too much. I was decent at getting numbers, but would always talk myself out of girls liking me, as things would go sideways after the second or third date." Pretty much sounds like how my 20s went. He says, "I even flew to another country to visit a girl only to get rejected at the last minute." He says, "Plenty of come on, man, and hello, McFly, as you would say." He says, "I eventually found your materials on YouTube in 2012. I bought your book, and I got my life in order. I saved up some money, I quit my job, and started my own business." Fucking awesome, dude. Good for you. Like you said, and this is a brilliant fucking statement. He says, "Like you said, there must be total alignment of a man's mission in life with what he does for everything to flow naturally. It was hard to accept that my life needed changes at first, but I realized the responsibility was on me to fix things and make everything better." Like I say all the time, you've got to participate in your own rescue. The only person that can change your life for the better is the person that you see in the mirror every day. All I can do is give you the tools, the strategies, the techniques, and the wisdom that I've learned in my own life. And if you apply those things, that's why I say all the time, if you think I'm a fucking jackass, just apply what I teach and you'll see that it works for you. That's the best sales pitch in and of itself. You get to try the material for free and apply it, and you see that it works. That builds your confidence. Confidence comes from experience. He says, "Fast forward 2 years, and while my business is still in its early stages, I have infinite patience, and I realize that I just have to let things take their natural course. Since then, I've also developed a take it or leave it attitude with women, and happen to find myself dating 3 girls at the same time now." Oh, poor baby. It's really rough, man. He says, "I had a first date with a girl last week at 7 p.m., and did everything textbook like you said in the book. I used the phone to set dates, and I left the early conversation after 3 or 4 texts to stay mysterious, letting her do 70 to 80% of the talking, and staying alert to signs if she's touching you or bumping into you while you're walking together. You got to develop sensory acuity. And that's why I say all the time, a couple of guys I talked to today, a big problem that they were having with the women that they were dating is they've just barely even finished reading my book the first time. I said, that's why you're making mistakes. Most of them are because you don't know what not to do because you don't know the book very well. And that's like trying to run a race but tying your shoelaces together. He says, I chose a place right outside my house, so if there was no connection, it would be convenient to just head home. And on the other hand, if things went well, we'd have a place to continue the conversation afterwards. Hang out, have fun, hook up. Intimacy requires privacy. You've got to be able to take a woman someplace where the two of you can be alone, where you don't have roommates or interference from other people. The two of you can just be completely alone. That way, when she's on top of you, she can fucking scream her brains out and not worry about somebody else hearing you, except maybe the neighbors. Like this last place that I moved from, I had a girl that I hooked up there one night, and she was really fucking loud. And my next door neighbors had this obnoxious fucking dog that they would leave in the house and would bark all fucking day long. And I remember one night, I was like 2 or 3 in the morning. She was fucking screaming. And I know that people next door had to hear it. And it was kind of like my revenge before they ended up moving out. He says, over dinner, the girl would touch my hand, ask me where I lived and who my roommates were, and if they were at home. She even helped me serve food on my dish. See, like what I was just talking about intimacy and having privacy? What do you think the woman was thinking about when she's saying, where do you live? Were your roommates going to be there? Or are they going to be at home? She's thinking she wants to get her freak on. Women like sex too. And if they really like you, you just have to not talk them out of it. That's why I say the men need to focus on hanging out, having fun, and hooking up. And this guy did a beautiful job of making everything strategically located and conveniently located to where he lives. So seduction just can naturally happen. He says, I took this as a hint, and I kept the conversation light and funny, eventually inviting her back to my place to hang out. As you said before, success depends upon prior preparation. And instead of having champagne and orange juice for mimosas, I keep some frozen strawberries in my freezer that are cheaper and more enjoyable snacks. Whatever works, dude. He says, I showed her around the house, and soon enough we started making out at the rooftop overlooking the city. We hung out some more, and as I tried to advance things, she would say, I'm not ready yet. And without being butthurt, I completely understood and played things cool like you said. There it is, playing things cool. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. As I took her dress off, she'd ask me to stop, so I'd go back to kissing her again, and then coming back to remove another article of clothing a few minutes later with no resistance. Because when a woman offers resistance, all she's basically trying to communicate is slow down. I'm not ready for that yet. It doesn't mean no completely. It just means I'm not ready at this particular moment in time. Doesn't mean at some point in the future she won't be ready. That's why 2 steps forward, 1 step back is so important. Because whenever a woman says no, you must stop and you must respect that. He says, needless to say, it was a good night. We had met for dinner at 7 o'clock, and by 9 p.m. we were already in my bed. That's pretty fucking good. It's like, the idea is, the sooner that can happen, that's like one of the things, like years ago, I remember the first time I had a girl that I met, and we ended up hanging out, and we were having some drinks together, and then I got her number, and we made a date, and she came over to my place, and we were supposed to go have some drinks, and we never ended up leaving. Within 45 minutes, she was in my bedroom. I remember at the time I was pretty elated because that was the quickest that I had ever been able to seduce a woman that I had just met and talked to on one other occasion previously. He said, she never did this before on a first date. Come on, honey. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'm not like this. I'm not normally like this. There is truth to that because most of the guys that the average woman goes out with don't know how to make a woman feel safe and comfortable enough to where she feels comfortable enough to get her freak on your first date. He said she never did this before on a first date and reiterated how different I was than most other guys. Hence the title of my book, How to Be a 3% Man. He says, when you say things should be effortless, I never believed you until now. He says, this is the best kind of experiences. Like I said, here's everything, here's all my knowledge, here's all my wisdom. You don't have to pay anything for it. Just apply it. If you need my help, I'm here to be a resource for you. Because the true, somebody taught me this about 10 years ago, and it's such a powerful statement. The true measure of a leader is not how many followers he has, but how many leaders he creates. This particular guy, I don't recognize his name, and I've never coached him personally. This guy read my book and watched my videos and diligently did exactly what I told him to do. And he achieved all this on his own without my help, other than the wisdom and life experience that I've shared with them. He says, I'm still dating 2 other girls at the moment, and while things are going a bit sideways, I have a take it or leave it attitude now and see the gems in your wisdom. The best thing is that I just turned 30 last year and can see things only going upwards from here. Good fucking job, dude. Good for you. Thanks for all your videos, Coach. And for those who have not bought the book yet, stop being an idiot and just get it now. And for those of you that haven't read my book yet, you want to get a Kindle version or a paperback version, on my website underneath the email sign-up box, there is a link that will take you, it's an image of my book. If you click on that link, it'll take you right to Amazon.com, and you can either download the Kindle instantly in 60 seconds or less, or you can purchase a paperback version, whatever works for you. So let's get into the second guy's email. He says, hey Coach, it's coming up on a year since my ex-wife left me from our broken reconciliation. I'm 35 and she's 29. We were together for 10 years. He says, yep, I feel like it's cliche listening to so many of your videos and articles. And married for a total of 2. She divorced me when she met another man. He was a lobbyist 5 years ago. And 4 months later, she contacted me to say what a mistake it was. I took her back without hesitation, giving her the benefit of the doubt and believing she was the one. 3.5 years later, she met another man, a lawyer this time, and I was left more in the dark about this guy. She hid it well, and I ignored all the red flags. Well, it's like Ayn Rand says, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And what I teach is reality. I'm not here as a coach to blow sunshine up your ass. My job as a coach is to shake the fuck out of you and say, wake the fuck up, because the way you're approaching things is not working. So you pay attention and you realize that you need to do something differently, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. He says, shortly after, she ended it with me and she started contacting me again. While seeing this other dickhead, we got together a few times and had fun, and then I did what you stress on every video not to do. I acted needy, I brought up past bullshit, I requested her approval, and I committed relationship seppuku, which for those of you who don't know, that's basically where it's the old samurai tradition. When a samurai warrior fails in battle, or he fails his leader, they take a knife and they literally rip open their insides with it, and they disembowel themselves, and they commit suicide that way. It's an extremely painful way to go, but it's a sign of a true warrior and his strength. The fact that you literally, can you imagine sticking a knife in your gut and cutting yourself open to commit suicide? That's a really unpleasant way to go. He said this drove her away and into his arms. She told me in parting that we'll never get back together and that she doesn't want a family with me anymore. Ouch, he says. After utterly humiliating myself and losing all of her respect, we fast forward a few months and I stumbled upon your YouTube channel and I was intrigued. I was skeptical until I attempted some of your techniques, and holy shit, girls were suddenly paying attention to me again. Huh. Imagine that. How many times have I said, don't believe a word I say, just go and apply it and you'll see that it works for you? He says, I thought this would win her back for sure, so I took your advice and left her completely alone and waited. While waiting, I purchased your Kindle ebook and have so far read it twice. I'm on my third reading now. It's understood, Coach. I'll read it at least 7 more times. I started slowly speaking to women everywhere just to get over my anxiety approaching them. I started asking for numbers and surprise getting them. I made some dates, I failed at some dates, but it was no big deal because in my head I thought it was just more practice for the real deal, my ex. It's in the back of his mind, he's thinking, hey, I'm going to get myself prepared so if my ex does try to come back, I'll be ready to do the appropriate thing. He says, but something happened. First, she still hasn't contacted me. She's definitely doing you a favor. Secondly, and more profoundly, I love what he says here. He says, I realized how fucking awesome I was without my ex. Exactly. That's one of the hardest things. When you have a breakup, especially when you're not the one that wanted the relationship to end, and you get dumped, it's like you can't see. It's really hard for you to see your value and see how awesome you are because you're the one that got rejected. And all you can think about is, I got to get this other person back, because your whole identity becomes wrapped up in being in a relationship with that person. And when that person's no longer in your life, you feel like you've lost your identity. It's like you don't even know who you are anymore because that person's not in your life. Like, what do you do when before everything you did was with this one person? And now they're gone. And worse, they're with some other guy. In this particular case, this woman has cheated twice in this guy. So loyalty doesn't mean jack shit to her. And guess what? That schmuck that took her off your hands, he's going to learn the hard way that once he doesn't do things right, she's just going to go and fuck somebody else. He said, I started recalling all of the awesome life that I lived before I met her. I remembered how I used to joke around, paint and draw, and educate myself and be creative. So it's all about getting to a place where you love yourself and you love your life and you're doing things that you really enjoy. This is what it's about, is creating an awesome life and lifestyle for yourself, a life that you really love. And so when you meet a girl, it's like, what do you do for a living? Oh my God, let me tell you, I love what I do. I paint, I do this, I do that, whatever it happens to be. Think about it. If you're not excited about your life, are you going to be able to get a woman excited about it? Probably not. I remembered how she left me, and it doesn't mean you have to be a multimillionaire and all your life and all your plans and your dreams have to be manifested. As long as you have a vision, knowing what your purpose is and your mission is in life, and you're striving to achieve it, and you believe that someday you'll get there, that in and of itself makes you happy. And that's what I'm talking about. Because the worst thing you could do is to be living a life where you fucking hate your job, or you just hate your life, or you don't like the people, your peer group that you're hanging out with. But when you actually take some action and you do something about it, and you at least start moving in the direction where you want to be, now you got something to be excited about. Now you have goals, you have dreams, you have ambition, you have things that you're striving for. And it's just simply a matter of time until you get there. He says, I remembered how she left me for 2 different men, and I realized I deserve so much better than to be treated like a bad habit. Abso-fucking-lutely. You are a gift. You are the gift. You are the prize, and you need to see yourself as such. Because if you don't see yourself as a prize, then anybody you date or you go out with, they're going to sense that. They're going to sense that you don't really value yourself. And when a woman senses that a guy doesn't really value himself, what they do is they start trying to test you, and they start trying to jerk you around to see how compliant you are. And the more compliant you are, in other words, when you start doing things and going along with things that you don't really want to do, and she says, are you okay with this? And you're like, oh yeah, sure. And it's written all over your face that you're not, that's weakness. That causes them to back away and test you even more. Because instead of acting like a man, you're acting like a mangina. He says, before I was a depressed mess, a drunk, and lonely most of the time, worrying about how poor in comparison to the lawyer I was, and how I would never find anyone like her again. Haha, fuck that, he says. He says, Coach, since all this has happened, I have gone back to school and I have excelled. I got my shit together to purchase a car. I've begun dating again. I started back with my art and guiding that art into a business, which I may do a Skype session with you about in the future. Definitely. And most importantly, I found that happy, confident guy that I remembered being before. He says, shit, even my sex drive kicked back in. fucking finally, he says, keep in mind, I still have my bad days. I still see her in traffic. And I still have the most overwhelming urge to chase her. But it's different now. My desire to respect myself is greater than those other feelings. When those dreadful feelings return, I direct my mind to realize that now is not forever. It's a great way to look at it. Good fucking job. I sit with my feelings and they always, always pass. And I talk a lot about this. And this is one of the things that Network Chiropractic Care really does. It literally gets you unstuck from the physiology, the unresourceful physiology and state that you're in, and it helps you drop all the tension in your nervous system. This makes it very much easier, like when you have a bad day or you're feeling like shit, it's like you got to get into it before you can get out. In other words, you got to really get into and feel the depth of your suffering and your pain or whatever the emotions are that are behind the feelings that you're feeling. Because life isn't all sunshine and roses. You're not going to walk around feeling happy and elated 100% of the time. Sometimes things aren't going to go your way and you're going to feel negative feelings bubble up, and you got to be present with them and feel them, whatever they are. But if you can be present with your feelings and your emotions, especially the dark ones, they'll dissolve and they'll go away, and that's what he's experiencing. He feels these urges, bad feelings, and he sits with them, he's present with them. He doesn't judge them. He just acknowledges them and takes them in, because what you resist will persist in life. In this particular case, instead, when he's present with his feelings, he gives himself permission to feel sad, depressed, angry, lonely, sad, whatever it happens to be. But then as quickly as it came on, it passes and you get right back to feeling good again. It's more of an art than a science, and it takes practice, especially if you've never done anything like that before. That's one of the things I've learned from all my spiritual pursuits in life, is learning to be present and learning to accept the reality of the present moment. Because when you don't accept what's going on in your life, or accept the fact that you got dumped, or that you lost your job, or that your business crashed and burned, or that you're overweight, or whatever it happens to be, it's like once you accept it, then that frees you up from suffering. Because when you don't accept things as they are, you're not accepting reality. In other words, you're literally not living in the moment, you're living somewhere else. And that causes us to suffer. He says, Coach, you have my absolute gratitude. Your stories and techniques helped me realize my potential, and I decided to stop sitting around and, as you say, participate in my own rescue. It's a long road, and I'm hardly finished, but your advice gave me the kick in the ass I needed to get walking it again. Thank you for all you do to help people help themselves. You truly are the man. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you're applying this, because not only are you changing your own life, it's like once you change your own life, then you have the ability to influence other people. And just by your presence and your confidence and the energy and the vibe that you give out, and especially people that know you, when they see the changes that you made in your own life, they're like, how did you do it? What did you do? Now they have a mentor in their lives, which is obviously you, and you can help those who actually want your help. It's a lot easier to help people who want your help than people who you're trying to convince, because otherwise it's kind of like beating your head against the wall. That's why, and when I get email from haters, or I see hateful comments posted on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, I just block that person and delete their comment, and they're out of sight, out of mind. Because there's so many people that are sending me emails that want my help, and I just don't have the time to get to them. That it's like, why? Why spend your time with somebody who doesn't appreciate you? It's like, spend your time with people who want your help, who value. It's the same thing with dating women. Go date women who really want to be with you. And if a woman's just kind of like, well, I don't know, why don't you give me your business card? Fuck that bullshit. Move on. Life is too short. There's almost 7 billion people on the planet, and half of them are women. The odds of you meeting somebody whose goals and values are aligned with yours are very good. That's why get out there and create a great life for yourself, and create a great mission and a great purpose that you can pursue. Go do things that you love. Get involved in the hobbies and the interests that you really love and you have a passion for, because you will meet other like-minded people that have the same goals and the same values as you, and therefore you can share your completeness with each other. It's the only way to live, in my opinion. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the Products tab, which will be at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.